Hello, my friend, and welcome. Now, tell me if this sounds painfully familiar. You planted a fruit tree a few years back. You watered it. You watched over it. You loved it through every season. And it grew. Oh, did it grow? Today, it's a big, beautiful, leafy green giant standing right there in your garden. But every single harvest, you walk out with your basket full of hope and you find nothing. Not a single blossom, not one piece of fruit, just leaves, leaves, and more leaves. It's enough to make a grown gardener want to sit down and cry, isn't it? Well, before you reach for that saw, let me tell you something that just might change your whole garden. Your tree is not broken. There is nothing wrong with it at all. Your tree has simply got a little too comfortable. And today I'm going to hand you a few quiet, old-fashioned secrets to gently wake it up. Secrets so simple they cost almost nothing, yet so powerful that one of them was first uncovered by Charles Darwin himself, and another by an Italian genius peering through one of the very first microscopes ever made. These aren't garden fairy tales, my friend. These are real, time-tested tricks backed by names you'll recognize and universities you trust. And by the time we're done, that stubborn tree is going to start working for you. And do stick with me, because the very last method I'll share needs no cutting, no wires, no tools at all, and it's the one my own hands reach for first every single spring. But we'll get to that. Go ahead, grab your tea, your coffee, pull up a chair beside me. Let's just talk for a while. One of the quiet gifts of getting older is that we finally understand a great truth. In the garden, less is often more. We don't need backbreaking work. We don't need a shelf full of expensive chemicals. We need patience, a good eye, and a little understanding of how a tree actually thinks. Because here's the heart of it. A fruit tree has only one true ambition in life: to make the next generation, to make seeds and fruit. Fruit is simply the sweet little package the seed rides in, but a tree won't bother making babies while life is easy. When it has plenty of water, rich soil, and not a care in the world, it does the lazy thing. It just keeps growing taller and leafier. Why go to the trouble of raising children when you can lounge in the sunshine and put on a little weight? I know a few retirees like that. Maybe you married one. Maybe you are one. I won't tell. So our gentle job as wise gardeners is to lean in close and whisper a reminder to that tree. Friend, life is good, but it won't last forever. Best leave something sweet behind. When a tree feels that mild, loving nudge, something almost magical stirs inside it. It stops pouring all its energy into leaves, and it begins, at last, to make flowers and fruit. Now, before we touch that tree with a knife, I owe you the honest truth, the way a real friend would tell it. There are four quiet reasons a perfectly healthy tree refuses to fruit, and almost nobody ever checks them. So that's where we begin, because sometimes the answer isn't a clever trick at all. It's something you can fix this very afternoon for free. Let me lay these out in plain language, because nobody ever tells the home gardener these things. Reason one, your tree may simply be too young. A fruit tree is like a child. It will not have babies of its own until it grows up. An apple or apricot often needs 2 to 5 years. A peach, 2 to 4. A pear can keep you waiting 4 to 6 years. A plum, 3 to 6. And a sweet cherry as long as 7. So if your tree is still a youngster, the kindest thing you can do is nothing at all. Just keep loving it. Its time is coming. Reason two, and oh, this is the big one. Your tree may be eating far too well. Hear me on this, friend, because it's the number one reason back garden trees won't fruit. When a tree gets too much nitrogen, too much rich food, it goes a little drunk on growing. Every ounce of energy rushes into leaves and long green shoots, and there's nothing left over to make a single flower. All leaves, no fruit. And here's the sneaky part that catches even seasoned gardeners. You might not be feeding that tree one crumb, but if you fertilize your lawn, especially with one of those weed and feed products, that nitrogen washes straight down through the grass and into your tree's roots, which spread far wider underground than the branches do above. So your tree has been feasting on your lawn's dinner all along. The fix costs you nothing. Stop feeding that tree. Pull the lawn fertilizer back well away from it. Clear the grass from around the trunk and lay down a simple ring of mulch out to the edge of the branches. Here's your rule of thumb. If your tree is pushing out more than 1.5 feet of new growth every year, it's living too rich. Put it on a gentle diet and watch what happens. Reason 3, your tree may be lonely. A great many fruit trees, most apples, pears, sweet cherries, and plums simply cannot make fruit from their own pollen. They need a sweetheart, a second variety planted nearby so the bees can carry pollen back and forth. One tree all alone, no matter how healthy, may bloom its heart out and never set a thing. And reason 4, big frost may be breaking your heart in secret. If a hard, late cold snap strikes while your tree is in full bloom, it can quietly kill every last flower in a single night. And you'd never know it because the leaves push out just fine afterwards. So if your tree blooms beautifully and then gives you nothing, a late frost is your most likely thief. So here's our first little open loop and a small favor I'll ask of you. Go check those 4 things. But let's say your tree has grown up. It isn't overfed, it has a partner. The frost spared it, and it still gives you nothing but leaves. That, my friend, is the comfortable tree. And for that tree, we have some wonderful old tricks. Let me show you. Everything I'm about to show you rests on one beautifully simple idea, a mild, controlled signal that tells the tree to switch from growing to fruiting. Notice I keep saying gentle. We are never, ever out to hurt our trees. We're giving them a loving tap on the shoulder, not a slap. A tree pushed too hard just gets sick. But a tree that feels one small, careful nudge, it quietly decides the season has come to make fruit. So let's start with the boldest method, then work our way down to the gentlest. Our first method sounds a touch frightening the first time you hear it, but I promise, done right, it's safe. And orchardists have trusted it for centuries. It's called bark scoring or girdling. And to understand it, we need one quick, painless biology lesson with no test at the end. You have my word. Picture the trunk of your tree as a two-way highway. The hard inner wood, the part you'd call the timber, carries water up from the roots to the leaves. And just beneath the outer bark runs a thin, living, spongy layer that carries the sugar the leaves make back down to feed the roots. Now, how do we know this for certain? Here's where the story gets wonderful. More than 300 years ago, around 1686, an Italian named Marcello Malpighi, one of the very first human beings ever to study life through a microscope, the man history calls the father of microscopic anatomy, carried out a beautifully simple experiment. He removed a thin ring of bark all the way around a tree trunk, and he watched. Within weeks, the bark above his cut had swelled up, plump and healthy, while below it the tree struggled. Malpighi figured out exactly why. The sugar made in the leaves was flowing downwards, hit his ring like a roadblock, and piled up above it. 300 years ago, through a handmade microscope, he uncovered the very secret your local garden center still won't tell you. So that's our trick. We take a very sharp, very clean knife and make one shallow cut, a ring, or even just a little C-shape through the outer bark and that thin sugar layer. We've built a little dam on the downward sugar highway. The sugar can't get past, so it backs up, a sweet traffic jam in the branches above. And when a tree senses all that sugar pulling up top, it reads the signal and starts making flower buds instead of more wood. Meanwhile, the water keeps flowing up through the untouched timber, so the tree stays perfectly hydrated and healthy the whole time. Clever, isn't it? And this is no folk superstition. The farm scientists at the University of California have documented for decades that scoring early peach and nectarine trees this way increases fruit size and brings the harvest in sooner. And over in Israel, a renowned researcher named Dr. Shimon Levy proved it on olive trees. He found that removing a narrow band of bark, just 10 to 15 millimeter wide, the width of your fingernail, lifted the harvest dramatically, in one trial by around 40% in a single season. 40% from one careful little cut. Now lean in close, because here I must be your careful friend. You cut just deep enough to lift off the bark and that soft green layer right beneath it, no deeper. Never, ever slice into the hardwood. Cut into the timber and you stop the water going up, and you can kill that branch outright. Cut too shallow and nothing happens. Cut too deep and you've gone too far. We want that thin living layer and nothing more, and we are gentle about how much. Do this on just one or two stubborn branches or on a small portion of the trunk. Never a deep, complete ring all the way around an unhealed trunk, or you'll starve the roots and lose the whole tree to a slow decline. We are tapping the tree on the shoulder, remember, not strangling it. Timing matters too. On stone fruit, the sweet spot is about a month after bloom, when the little fruit seed is roughly the size of this knuckle. And do know that a few fussy varieties simply don't enjoy this trick and may sulk, so always test one branch first and watch. Done correctly, that small cut bridges over and heals all on its own in about 6 to 8 weeks. This is the advanced move, the one for the bold among you. If it feels like too much today, don't you worry one bit. Stay up here because the next two methods are softer and every bit as powerful. Now, the very moment we make a cut on a tree, a little voice pipes up in the back of your head, probably your father's voice, like it is mine, saying, "Quick, paint over that wound before it gets infected." For nearly 50 years, that's exactly what gardeners and even the professionals were taught. Carry a can of tar or pruning paint and seal up every cut. My own father had us hand him the brush every single time he pruned the apples. Anything bigger than a 10p piece, he'd say, gets a coat. He was certain he was saving those trees. Well, friend, here is one of those buried truths I treasure sharing with you because the science quietly turned that old rule completely on its head. Back in the 1970s, a brilliant U.S. Forest Service scientist named Dr. Alex Shigo, a man so important to tree care that today they call him the father of modern arboriculture, took a hard, honest look at how trees truly recover. And what he found astonished everyone. A tree does not heal a wound the way our skin does. It never grows the old wood back. Instead, it walls the wound off from the inside and slowly grows a fresh ring of healthy bark over the top. Trees don't heal, Shigo showed us. Trees seal. And here comes the part that ought to make you sit up. Those wound paints we trusted for half a century, they make things worse. They trap moisture against the wood. They invite the very rot and fungus they were sold to prevent. And they actually slow the tree's own sealing right down. The folks selling that paint meant well, but the research is settled now. Walk behind any certified tree expert in the country today, and you'll notice they carry no paint at all. So what should you do? It's almost insulting how simple it is. Use a clean, sharp, well-wiped blade, make a tidy cut, and then step back and let the tree do its job. That's the whole secret. The one little exception is our sugar dam from a moment ago. There you may lay a strip of grafting tape, parafilm, or even ordinary electrical tape lightly over the exposed band, not to heal it, but simply to keep that thin living layer from drying out in the sun while it bridges over. In fact, those Israeli researchers found that covered girdles healed quickly and stayed strong, while bare ones healed slowly and the branch suffered. So, a light wrap helps, a thick coat of gunge hurts. And what about good old aloe vera, that loyal plant on your windowsill? Here's my honest answer, friend to friend. A dab of fresh aloe on a clean cut won't do a bit of harm. And if rubbing some on makes you feel you've truly tended your tree, then go right ahead. I'd never stop you. But please don't believe anyone who calls it a miracle. It isn't the aloe doing the work. It's the clean cut and the tree's own ancient wisdom. Let's leave the magic potions in the storybooks where they belong. And isn't it telling? No company on earth gets rich from you making a clean cut and walking away. There's nothing to sell. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly why nobody ever shouted the truth from the rooftops. Now, if cutting into your tree's bark just isn't for you, and that is perfectly all right, here is the very same idea with no knife at all. It's called wire constriction or cincturing, and you can think of it simply as a gentle reversible version of our sugar dam. All you need is a length of ordinary garden wire, a couple of pounds worth, and it'll last you years. You find a stubborn, leafy branch that flat out refuses to fruit, and you wrap the wire snugly around its base. Snug, mind you, firm enough to hug the bark, but never biting into it. Here's the quiet genius of it. All spring and summer, that branch keeps growing a little thicker, the way branches do. But the wire won't stretch. So as the branch swells, it presses gently against that unyielding loop, slowly pinching that same sugar highway we just talked about. The sugar backs up, the branch feels that mild best make some fruit signal, and it begins forming flower buds. Same beautiful result and not a single cut required. And now I must put on my serious face because this is the one rule you absolutely cannot forget. You must take the wire off. You leave it on for only about 4 to 8 weeks, just until you spot those precious little flower buds beginning to swell. Then you set the tree free, because if you forget, the branch keeps growing, and that wire slowly chokes it. It cuts off the flow of life completely, leaves a weak, scarred spot where the next storm can snap it clean off, and in time, it can kill the branch outright. We've all seen a poor tree that swallowed an old washing line or a forgotten cable. It's a slow, sad end, and such an easy one to avoid. So here's what I do, and I want you to do it right alongside me. Tie a bright ribbon to that wire so you can spot it from the patio, and circle a date on the kitchen calendar. Let the wire do its gentle work and then let your tree breathe again. And now, the one I promised you at the very start, my personal favorite. No knife, no wire, no stress on the tree, and none on these aging hands of mine either. We're simply going to change the tree's posture. Have you ever noticed how a young fruit tree loves to shoot its branches straight up toward the sky, like a teenager reaching for the ceiling? There's a beautiful reason, and the story behind it is one of the finest in all of gardening. Up at the very tip of each growing branch, the tree makes a hormone, and because of gravity, that hormone trickles straight down the inside of an upright branch and quietly puts all the little side buds to sleep, murmuring, "Not yet, not yet." Let the tip lead the way. That's why a tall vertical branch just keeps climbing, leafier and taller, with all its side buds dozing. Now, who first uncovered this? You'll never guess. It was none other than Charles Darwin. Yes, friend, that Darwin. In 1880, in one of the last books he ever wrote, The Power of Movement in Plants, Darwin and his son Francis discovered that the very tip of a young shoot senses the world and sends a mysterious influence traveling down the stem to control how it grows. He didn't yet know what that influence was. It took another 50 years before a Dutch scientist named Fritz Wendt finally captured that mysterious substance in his laboratory and gave it the name we use today, auxin. Two of the greatest minds in the history of science, and the secret they uncovered is the very one you're about to use one afternoon in your own back garden. Here's how we put it to work. We take a piece of soft twine, tie it to that proud upright branch, and gently coax it down towards horizontal until it's pointing out sideways instead of straight up. Suddenly, that auxin can no longer pull the way it did. It slides off to the underside of the branch, and those side buds along the top, they wake right up and burst into bloom. Researchers at Virginia Tech studied exactly this on peach trees and confirmed what wise old orchardists always knew in their bones. Bend a branch towards level, and you change the hormone signals running through it, coaxing it to trade some of its leafy ambition for flowers and fruit. You're not changing the tree's nature, you understand. You're simply changing its mind. A few gentle rules because we always care for our trees. Bend the branch to about level, horizontal, or just a touch below. Don't haul it way down past that, or the tree gets confused and throws up a whole forest of useless upright shoots instead. Tie the twine off to a lower branch, a stake in the ground, or even the rim of a heavy pot, whatever's handy. And do mind the old orchardist's 3-to-1 rule. Only bend a branch that's no more than a third as thick as the trunk it springs from. Try to wrestle down a branch that's too stout, and it'll split right at the joint. And that, my friend, would break both our hearts. One last tip that makes all the difference. Do your bending in the middle to the end of summer when the season's growing is settling down. Bend too early on a vigorous tree, and those buds just turn into more shoots. Bend at the right time, leave the twine on a couple of months until the wood sets into its new graceful curve, then untie it and come spring. Prepare to be amazed. This is the method for all of us. It asks nothing of your back, nothing of your wallet, just an old piece of string and a little patience. And once again, isn't it telling? There's no company on this earth getting rich from you bending a branch with a bit of twine, which is very likely why your grandmother knew this trick by heart, and the garden center never breathed a word of it. Now, I know that's a lot to hold in your head all at once. The cuts, the cautions, the timing, the 3-to-1 rule. So I've done something for you. I've taken every single method from today, every step, every safety rule, and a simple little month-by-month timing calendar and put it all onto one clean, printable page. Your own fruit tree wake-up blueprint. Stick it on the fridge, tuck it in your garden gloves, or take it right out to the tree with you. And it's yours, completely free. Just take your phone, point the camera at the QR code on your screen right now, and give it a tap. The blueprint will come straight to you, ready to print. No typing, no fuss. If you're watching on the television, don't you worry. I'll pop the link down in the description below too, so you can grab it anytime. Go ahead and pause the video to scan it now if you'd like. I'll wait right here. Got it? Wonderful. Now let me share one last little secret before you head outside. Before we go, let me share one more thing, gently and honestly. You've surely heard the old folklore. Do your grafting, your pruning, your planting by the phase of the moon. Our grandparents lived by it, and it goes back further than you'd ever imagine. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder set it down in his great Encyclopedia of Nature nearly 2,000 years ago. And the ancient Greek philosopher Theophrastus, the very father of botany, wrote of timing the harvest to the moon long before that. When a notion survives that many centuries, well, it earns a respectful hearing. And here's the curious part. A scientist, Professor Ernst Zürcher, actually set out to measure it. Watching trees closely over many years, he found the very faintest rhythm, tree trunks swelling and shrinking by a few millionths of a meter as the moon passed overhead. Just a whisper. So perhaps there's a tiny grain of truth tucked inside the old tales after all. But you know I'll always give you the straight truth on this channel. A great big modern study, watching dozens of trees through dozens of moon cycles with the most sensitive instruments, found no real rhythm tied to the moon at all. The trees were simply responding to the warmth and dryness in the air, not to the sky above. Other universities found the very same. The moon's gentle tug on one little tree in your back garden is real, yes, but it is whisper small. So here's my honest heart on it. The way I'd tell my own brother across the fence. Garden by the moon, if it brings you joy, if it gives you a reason to step outside on a calm, clear evening and lay your hands on your trees, then it's already done you a world of good, and that's worth more than any harvest. But the real magic, the work that truly wakes your tree, is the bend, the squeeze, the clean little cut. The moon is the lovely song playing softly in the background. You, my friend, are the one making the music. My dear friend, gardening in our golden years was never meant to be a battle. It's a partnership between you and a living thing that longs to give. If only we learn how to ask. So if you've got a tree out there that's been sleeping on the job, please don't tear it out. Don't pour harsh chemicals into your good soil. You don't need to. You just need to speak its language. Check those 4 quiet reasons first. Then pick one gentle method that feels right to you. A soft bend of a branch, a few weeks of a wire's gentle squeeze, or one careful little score. Just one. Try it this season. Remember that big leafy giant we started with? The one that's given you nothing but shade for years? Walk out to it today, lay your hand on its bark, and give it the loving little reminder it's been waiting for all this time. I promise you, with a touch of patience and these simple time-tested tricks good enough for Darwin, for Malpighi, for the great orchardists of the world, that stubborn tree is going to thank you with an explosion of beautiful, sweet fruit. That's the real joy of it, isn't it? Not a magic spell, but finally understanding the tree. And there is nothing in this whole world quite like watching something you understand come roaring back to life in your own 2 hands. If these secrets change the way you look at the stubborn trees in your garden, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We are digging up the history and the science that they tried to bury. Let's grow the future together. The next treasure chest of garden wisdom will open soon. Tell me in the comments which tree is giving you trouble. I read every single one. Until next time, keep your hands in the soil and happy gardening.